broken arbitrarily by an exchange, especially those rules that you stated. Those are arbitrary rules. And for someone who was left out of those arbitrary rules, in other words, didn't fit in the box,
right.
How do you think they feel?
I think they probably feel terrible, and I would as well if I were in that position. And that's why the rules have got to have clarity, and they've got to provide certainty up front so people understand that if a trade is executed because of a fat finger problem, a technology problem, whatever the reason is, that's executed 30% or 20% away from the market, that those trades will be broken without discretion or they won't be broken. But people need to understand that up front. When people enter the marketplace, they need to know what the rules are that will apply. Breaking trades also discourages buyers coming in at a very low point and providing liquidity, for example, because their trades may be broken as well. So why would they go in?
In other words, those
help
ones that were done at 1 cent, are those some of the trades that we're talking about?
Absolutely. The several hundred securities that had trades executed against stub quotes at a penny or 5 cents are very likely to be 60% away from their last valid price, and they will certainly be broken.
Okay. Second question for Chairman Shapiro. Have you found that any market makers with obligations to stay in the market did not perform on their obligations? And do you think the rules for market makers need to be adjusted to reflect the greater role of new types of liquidity providers?
We don't have evidence yet of market makers who had affirmative obligations from withdrawing from the market. It is absolutely something that we're looking at, and we've incorporated our enforcement division into our ongoing investigation. We have close to 100 people at the SEC working on this inquiry. I do believe one of the things we absolutely have to look at is the fact that many affirmative obligations of market makers have been eliminated by the markets over the years. And that's how we end up with stub quotes. The obligation to provide a two-sided quote used to be required to be reasonably related to the market price. It no longer is in all cases. And we end up with, a spread of 1 cent to $100,000, and that's just unacceptable. So one of the things we will be looking at very carefully is the creation of affirmative obligations again.
The only reason I bring that up is that market makers make their money on the spread or whatever little chunk they take out as being a market maker. At least that's the way it was for 31 years that I dealt with market makers. In fact, in some of the over-the-counter stocks that I sat on the over-the-counter desk, we took 1/4 point out of each trade. And therefore, it was built-in profit for the company that I worked for. I don't think a market maker should be able to get out of the market. They are making the markets in that stock under any circumstances, unless they're belly up.
As the markets have evolved, there are other benefits as well of being a market maker. It might be fees and rebates. It might be preferential capital or margin treatment and so forth. So to the extent there is a benefit from being a market maker, my view is there ought to be obligations and responsibilities that go along with that.